Hey guys, this is Seth Tallman, aka Earth, of Heretic Gamer, bringing you the review of Nintendo's insanely hyped up pseudo 3D fighter, Super Smash Bros. Brawl. This game has flown off store shelves since its release, and gamers both casual and hardcore alike are experiencing a whole new level of fun with all the new features that Brawl brings to the table. And believe me when I say that's a lot of new features. I'll try my best to highlight all of them and tell you why Brawl is the best installment yet. First, let me get out of the way the fact that at its core, Brawl is very similar to the previous two installments in the Smash Bros. Series. The concept remains the same. Beat your opponent to raise their percentage gauge. The more you hit, the higher their percentage gets. The higher their percentage gets, the higher they fly, and the easier they are to launch off screen for an always satisfying exploding KO. While stages and strategies may vary, that is the combat of Brawl in a very small, delicious nutshell. Now, while the core of combat is exactly the same, there are plenty of other features that are tweaked or brand new altogether. One huge tweaked feature is the speed of ground combat and the emphasis on aerial combat. Ground combat has been slowed down a bit from Melee, and the gravity seems to be toned down. If you're a Melee veteran like me, you may have some difficulty adjusting. Characters that were already slower than others like Link and Ganondorf are now even slower, and it doesn't make sense. If Brawl is supposed to make everything better, why downgrade some characters? It definitely takes some getting used to, but give it some time and Brawl will seem to move at melee speed in no time. While not necessarily a downgrade, this Smash Bros. Did away with wave dashing in favor of multiple aerial dodges. This is what makes aerial combat so much more interesting this time around, especially with newcomers Pit and Meta Knight, who have the gliding feature. There are also other new features such as wall jumping and swimming. Wall jumping is only available to the characters without a flying or floating capability, and it's a lot more useful than it sounds. Jumping off of walls with a mere tilt of the joystick can help you reach ledges that you couldn't before, and comes in handy quite often, particularly on crazy custom stages. More on that later. Swimming is awesome. No longer will your character fall through water and into oblivion as if the water wasn't even there to begin with. This time around, they can swim for a limited amount of time before, guess what? They drown. I guess they all took lessons from the same guy who taught Toon Link how to swim. That's a Wind Waker joke. If you can't get used to wall jumping, swimming, or aerial combat, it may not be your fault. It may very well be your method of control. Wii Remote and Nunchuck not your style? Go back to Old Faithful, the GameCube controller. GameCube controller making Brawl feel stale and too last generation? Go for the classic controller, assuming you have one of course. Hating all this new generation joystick control? Go old school and turn the Wii Remote on its side. In addition to being able to choose between 4 methods of control, you can personalize even more. Every button on every controller can be switched to whatever you please. Guys, this is next gen control. There are plenty of ways to fight in Brawl. If you still find a way to complain about control, you should be forced to play Wii Sports Boxing. I'd like to see you play that broken game and come back saying that Brawl's control scheme still sucks. There are quite a few more characters in Brawl than there is in Melee, 35 to be exact compared to Melee's 26. Newcomers include Pit, Meta Knight, Wario, Pokemon Trainer, Captain Olimar, Toon Link, and many more. Buy the game, find out the rest for yourself. There are still a few clones thrown into the mix, but it's forgivable just like every other flaw in this game. For the first time in the series, characters actually feel nearly completely balanced. I found myself having a hard time deciding on which character should be my main one. What's a bunch of new characters without any new stages? Crap. Since Brawl is the exact opposite of that, there are plenty of new places to brawl. The stages are better than they have ever been before. Needless to say, they look better, but they are also altogether more creative, and it's a blast to fight on every one of them. Stages in Brawl features something no other Smash has before it, destructible stages. Not all of them are like this, but the ones that are make Brawl that much more intense when the environment around you begins to crack and fall apart with each slam and hit. Some stages also feature a day and night system. As your battle continues on, the sun begins to set and soon the stars are out. There's one stage in particular that takes this to a whole new level, Smashville, the Animal Crossing based stage. Just like in the game, time on the battlefield passes by in real time according to your Wii's internal clock. If it's not at your place, it's night in Smashville. Play on the stage at Saturday night at 8 p.m. for a special surprise. When it's all said and done, you'll have 41 stages to fight on, including past stages from Melee. However, it is possible for you to have even more with the all-new custom stage builder. More on that later. As you progress through the game, you'll unlock more music, and each stage has customizable tracks. You can adjust how often each track will appear in the My Music section of options, and it's great. The music in this game is phenomenal. It was forged in the fires of Mount Eargasm. The single-player experience in Brawl is much better than its predecessors. First, we have the mode that's been here since day one, Classic. In Classic, you must advance through 12 stages and scenarios in order to get the Master Hand and kick his ass. Maybe it's me, but Classic mode is very boring and stale. I've done it all twice before, and when I replay, I notice that the scenarios look very familiar. I would have loved to see some new stuff, but Classic mode is mainly just to unlock stuff anyway. What really makes Solo so great is the all-new adventure mode titled The Subspace Emissary. Forget everything you know about previous adventure modes, the Subspace Emissary is like a separate game in itself. It has story, new characters, enemies, bosses, and varying stages. It took me over 8 hours to complete it on normal, and that's very lengthy compared to Melee's adventure mode, which could be beaten in one short sitting. The story isn't Final Fantasy material, but for being an extra mode to an already very robust game, it gets the job done. There are a few twists and turns that you never see coming, including the introduction of a brand new character exclusive to Brawl. This new character's design is awesome. It's worth going through Subspace and Mystery mode just to look at him. As the story keeps chugging along, you'll be treated to some flat-out gorgeous cutscenes. Nintendo definitely has its own individual style, and it shines through the duration of every cutscene with the grace of 1,000 princesses. Before the story gets on the serious side, every cutscene you see has a satirical air about it, and though it's sometimes cheesy, I just can't help but laugh every time Fox gets dragged off by Diddy Kong. The cinematics of Brawl's Subspace and Mystery will always keep you entertained and motivated, even during the most repetitive sections. There are those that say adventure mode gets repetitive, but I don't think that's true. It seems to start that way, but around halfway through the story, it picks up in a very good way, and I was fully absorbed into it from that point on. Well, until the final moments. There's a BS task that you have to do before the final boss, and that absolutely ruins any good thing about the Subspace and Mystery. At that point, I was dragging along at a snail's pace, and I just wanted to complete it, get it over with. You may be in drudgery before that part comes though, because some sections can be very frustrating. Extremely. The enemies are small, but some of them pack a punch, and it really gets to you whenever you're KO'd by a purple midget with a boomerang for no good reason at all. You can remedy this, however, with the introduction of stickers. Stickers are kind of like trophies in the sense that they are collectible, but stickers do something that trophies don't: boost your stats. To me, the stickers were confusing at first. I thought I could pile on stickers of the same type, but no, they just cancel each other out. You can't even put two stickers that are completely different but boost the same stat on them. I learned my lesson when I had to discard hordes of stickers because the game doesn't tell you this or even stop you from doing so. Some stickers are exclusive to certain characters, but thank goodness the game shows you that. Sometimes the stickers become a mini puzzle as you desperately try to situate them in a certain way to make just enough room for another one. Rarely you succeed, other times you fail. And then there's an occasion where you hope you can remove a smaller sticker thinking you can now fit a bigger one, and it turns out you still can't fit it. That means you just gave up one of your stickers. It sucks.